Alrighty, welcome back as we get to the next section of our show, Immigrant Survivor Show with Ope Banwo. And now we want to talk about some of the updates that have happened in the last few days. You know, in this era of Donald Trump and their aggression about maintaining clean immigration in America, almost one thing or the other happens every day. And like I say on my show, you do not help yourself by hating on the government. The government is implementing its policies, which most times Donald Trump talked about before he became president. He didn't surprise anybody. He told everybody what he's going to do or what he's going to try to do. So as a smart immigrant, your job is not to join them to be knocking the president. That can even hurt you in the long run, because now they check your social media. They check what you are doing, what they are saying about America that you say you want to belong to. That doesn't help you. What helps you is to keep up to date. What is going on, what is going down, and prepare for it before immigration comes looking for you. That's why we introduce this segment of the show, which is Immigration Updates of the Day. And we're going to go right away to the update number one of the today's broadcast, and that has to do with the public charge rule. You know, many of us may not know much what this is, but I'm going to explain it a little bit because I want to make sure you understand. Because the first update I want to talk about is the USCIS. I like to call them immigration so that I don't use acronyms that will confuse you. So I use immigration for ICE, I use immigration for CBP, I use this for USCIS, because as far as you are concerned, immigration is immigration, okay? Now, the USCIS part of immigration, they've rescinded the 2022 public charge rule that they had. Now, they had this rule that will make them determine whether you are likely to be a public charge on America, and then they decide whether they want to give you a green card or not. They rescinded that rule. So what happened? They rescinded that regulation of 2022 that is called the public charge rule. So beginning from September 18, that's when the new system is going to kick in about a couple of months, September 18, 2026. Immigration officers will now have broader discretion when evaluating a green card application to decide whether the applicant is likely to become a public charge. A public charge is somebody who's dependent on America for support. Those who need welfare help, those who need all this stuff that they give to Americans to support them. If they determine that you're one of those people that will likely need it, then your application is going to be denied. So what they are doing now is that they will issue a revised Form I-485, which is the adjustment of status form. They're going to launch a new one by that September 18 that will ask more questions this time. And why does this matter? Because I don't talk about stuff that don't matter on this show. Why does it matter? This matters to every immigrant, whether you already have your citizenship, your green card, or you are trying to get one, because this is one of the biggest immigration policy changes of 2026, and many are not even saying it yet. It's one of the biggest, because applicants for permanent residence may now face more extensive financial reviews, and officers will consider a broader range of factors than under the 2022 rule. That's why you want to pay attention to this. So if you are planning to file for green card, adjustment of status, either family-based green card or employment-based green card, your financial documentation will become even more important, because under the old rule that they've just taken down, it's easy for you to even qualify as not being a public charge, because they just do one simple calculation about how much you make, how much your dependent makes, and based on that, they can decide whether you're a public charge or not. But under the new arrangement, they are saying they can go way beyond that. They can consider a lot of broader issues that they were not considering before. Now, let me talk about my own strategic advice for you, or recommendation on this. I call it the Rottweiler Strategic Recommendation. Don't assume you still qualify just because you qualified under the old rule. In other words, maybe your husband that is filing for you, or your wife makes so much money, or you two make so much money and you feel, well, we now qualify. we are not a public charge to America. Don't assume that. That would be bad strategy. Before you file, going from September 18 now, review your financial evidence with a qualified lawyer who knows what to look for. Make sure your affidavit of support is very strong. Because now, if you're a public charge, the people that are supporting you are the ones that will pay the government, whatever you collect. So make sure your affidavit of support is strong, is made by somebody of substance. Don't rely on social media rumors, because a lot of stuff is going to start. Once they start implementing this, there'll be those who will be trying to scare you, those who will be trying to give you wrong information. You don't want to rely on them. Always, like I said at the beginning, have an immigration attorney review your case before September 18 if the timing could affect you. Understand this. The rules may change, but the consequences of getting it wrong remain the same. So if you're planning to apply for a green card or adjust your status, don't assume yesterday's advice still applies today. Immigration policies evolve, and filing under the wrong assumptions could delay, maybe even jeopardize your future. You got to get informed. You got to get prepared. You got to get legal guidance before you file. This public charging is going to be so robust that, like I said, I think it's probably one of the most consequential ones. Because now if you cannot demonstrate that you're not going to be relying on public benefits, they're going to deny you. And they've given them broader powers other than just adding your salary and that of your spouse together, and then maybe you bring one affidavit. They're going to be looking at things like, how are you supporting your people back home? They'll be looking at your bank statement, how much is left when the person sponsoring you, for instance, as at the end of the month. He might be making this amount of money, but does he have enough money to accommodate a new person? Those are the kind of things they're going to publish more of those guidelines. Obviously, immigration likes to publish these guidelines, but they've given them broad powers to consider everything. They want to look at your children when you finish supporting them, or the children or the person filing for you. When they are done supporting them, how much is left? Can that accommodate you and your own child or your own spouse, that your own person that is coming under this? So I'll make sure this new rule is coming into effect September 18. If you're going to be filing before then or after that, make sure you check out the new guidelines thoroughly on public charge. And better still, get a lawyer. Because if a lawyer made a mistake, they still allow you to reopen your case for ineffective assistance of counsel. But if you did it yourself, then you are stuck with that mistake. So even using a lawyer is like giving yourself a backup for your case. All right, that is the immigration update number 1, and I'm going to be sharing more of this in the coming weeks, because I see this rule becoming very, very, very consequential as we go. And it just happened. Another immigration update that happened in the last few days. Of course, this is good news. I like to share some good news with the bad, so that I'm not tagged as Professor Bad News, because there's a lot of bad news happening in American immigration. You got to look for some of the good news that is out there that can at least cheer people up a little bit. And this one, I'm happy to say, a federal judge has recently blocked work permit restrictions. No, immigration was considering restricting work permit for certain individuals from some country like El Salvador, Sudan, Ukraine, and co. So what happened? What is the update? A federal judge temporarily blocked the government from enforcing new policies that will have stripped work authorization from many asylum seekers. Yes, a lot of people who were filing asylum will have been affected by that, and temporary protected status, the beneficiaries of what they call TPS, while of course they continue to battle the litigation. The federal judge said, no, let's hold it until all these cases play out. Why does this matter? Thousands of immigrants who depend on their work authorization may now be able to receive temporary relief while the court considers the legality of the policy that immigration is putting in place, or that they try to enforce, that have started affecting a lot of asylum seekers. So this judge has said, let's hold it. And this mostly affects people from El Salvador, Sudan, Ukraine, whose employment authorization was at risk. Here is my strategic recommendation on this development, as always. Understand that a court order is not a permanent victory. Donald Trump government will keep appealing until they get to the Supreme Court. So it's temporary relief right now. So don't quit monitoring your case. I tell every client or anybody who come on consultation with me, renew your work permit early. Don't wait until 1 or 2 months before it expires. Before you start the process, you are allowed to apply 6 months to expiration. If I were you, I will start right away, because the thing is no longer straightforward and it doesn't come quick anymore. I have some clients who have applied for work permit by themselves for over a year and they have not gotten the work permit. And the way it's working now, at least until the court step in now, is that if your new work permit is not in your hand, as at the date the old one expired, you have to stop working. A lot of people have lost their job. A lot are being asked by their companies to resign so that they can be eligible to be rehired when they get their work permit. Some are getting fired outright. Not one, not two, not 100, not 200. Literally thousands of people are facing this scenario right now about this work permit thing. So you need to understand that this is something you monitor closely. At least on this show and other immigrant shows or immigration shows all over. There's so many of them now. I encourage you, follow as many of them as you can. One of my friends, Dr. Shekun, does one on Wednesdays. I encourage you, 1 p.m. Central Time. He has a great one. I follow it myself because he's a very experienced gentleman in this game. He's been at it for more than 20 years. He has a show, 1 p.m. every Wednesday. There are other lawyers out there doing this. Follow as many of them as possible. You know why? Because what I'm not talking about, the other lawyer may talk about it. You need to keep monitoring the immigration thing in the country, regardless of your status. Even if you already have it, you just got your citizenship. It's not over. They are taking citizenship from people now. Number 2 strategic advice here is that keep copies of every filing. Because when it gets to a point, let's say your work permit doesn't come out on time and you need a lawyer to step in for you, like I do for a lot of people now, where we can then help them apply to the ombudsman to intervene, or apply to their congressman to intervene, or go approach immigration on their behalf, or maybe even consider filing a mandamus. We need copies of everything you file. We need copies of the letters that they gave you. So my strategic advice here is that keep records, keep copies of everything. It makes your job easier and faster. Because if you get to a lawyer and you say, I applied for my work permit 8 months ago, they've not given me a new one, you want your lawyer to follow up with you, your lawyer will need copies of everything. Now, if you don't have it, it will first have to go do what is called a FOIA, Freedom of Information Request, because only a stupid lawyer will start filing papers for you without knowing what to file before. That will then cost you more time before they even send a copy of that to your lawyer. But if you have copies already, it becomes easy for your lawyer to just take what he needs from your copy and then start fighting for you. Number 3, stay informed, because court rulings can change quickly. We have this one now, we're celebrating it. Who knows what the Court of Appeal will do tomorrow? Maybe Donald Trump is going to go straight to the Supreme Court and boycott the Court of Appeals, which they've done many times on issues like this. So you need to stay informed. Waiting until your work permit expires can create a lot of avoidable problems for you. You can lose your job and not be able to get it back. You can enter immigration problem. Immigration can arrest you if you go to work the next day, even though you had a work permit before. They're everywhere. So this is a very serious development. Update number 3 that I want us to cover today, of course, is about the Visa Bulletin. I wanted to cover that a bit because we have new Visa Bulletins for the month of August. It's now out there. It changes every day and you need to check it out. Because a lot of clients, they believe that immediately you file is when they can start to expect their green card or start to expect the benefit. Visa Bulletins continue to control the green card waiting times in almost all categories, whether it is employment based or through marriage or whatever. So the State Department's Visa Bulletin continues to determine when applicants may file or receive approval for their family or an employment-based immigration visas based on priority dates. You can't just go and file because you have a family relationship with somebody who's American or who's going to be American and then think that is okay. The bulletin guides when you can file, when you have to wait. But if you file before you are due, you have just wasted your money. Immigration will collect that money, they deny it, and they don't give your money back. That's why it matters. Because many immigrants mistakenly believe that filing a petition guarantees an immediate green card. It does not. Priority must be current before you can move forward in many categories. Yes, some categories are current, like married to US citizens and stuff, but many are not current. Some of them are waiting period of 5 years, some 10 years, some 15 years, or in the case of Mexico, some of them 25 years waiting period. So your priority date must be current before you can move forward with your case. And you need to be aware of that. It's always available on their website, USCIS website. Just Google Visa Bulletin for the month of August. Is out now, and begin to check it to see which one applies to you and which one can benefit you. Here's my strategic advice, and like I always like to do with every update, don't rely on online rumors. Check the Visa Bulletin every month. It is free. It is available. You just need to Google it out or call your lawyer. They will tell you, because sometimes you might not be able to understand well, but there are several boxes there, several categories. If you are not clear, get a lawyer to break it down for you. As part of the strategic advice, don't make travel, employment, or relocation decisions while assuming your case will be approved next month. Some people might tell you that just because they want to take your case, say, oh, by next month they should approve your case. Don't assume that. You got to go to the Visa Bulletin with your own 2 eyes. You got to cite it. And if you don't understand what the bulletin is explaining, you call your lawyer. That am I due to put in for my green card now? Because if you put in early before you are due, not only do you lose the money that you are likely to get, you may actually create more problems for yourself, announcing yourself when you are not supposed to have done that. Your place in line matters just as much as your application. I tell my clients that. Filing an immigration petition doesn't mean you are going to receive a green card right away or even next year. Your priority date controls when you can move forward. So monitor the Visa Bulletin every month yourself. Don't assume your lawyer is monitoring it for you. You go to USCIS.org and you search for Visa Bulletin. They bring out a new one every month. Keep your case updated. Avoid making life-changing decisions based on assumptions. Oh, the brother of US citizen, last year it was 2004 they were dealing with. More than likely they're going to do your own in 6 months. So you should be, don't rely on that. Sometimes it stays in the same place for months. Sometimes it jumps a whole year in advance. So it's not like a calculation that anybody can give you. Even a lawyer cannot give you a correct calculation. You have to just put in the bulletin yourself and look. Patience, preparation, proper legal guidance always makes a difference between staying on track and facing unnecessary setbacks. I've seen people create unnecessary setbacks for themselves just because they were not patient or they were not diligent enough to be able to follow their case. So if you would like to talk to a lawyer, like I said, we represent clients all over the nation. You can always reach me anytime by going to banwolaw.net/consultation to book a one-on-one consultation. I tell people that little I charge only $100 for consultation. That $100 could be the big difference between wasting $10,000 and 2 years of your life versus getting the facts right. You have nothing to lose other than that $100 to understand your situation. For 1 hour, I will answer any question you have. I will help you analyze your immigration situation, the scenarios that you're thinking about, and give you honest advice. Sometimes it will not be what you want to hear, but I pride myself on telling you exactly what you need to hear. And if it's not convenient for you to book the consultation with me, then find an immigration lawyer. Talk to one. Let them give you proper advice before you do anything that has to do with immigration. You will be glad you did. Because if you're trying to save that money, you may end up spending thousands of dollars and you will still not be able to fix the problem that you could have solved with a 1 hour consultation. I wanted to put that in there, of course, banwolaw.net/consultation. I'll be more than happy to talk with you on Zoom, or if you want to come into our physical office, our new physical office in Arlington, Dallas, I'll be more than happy to see you in the office. You indicate which one you want.